Le Nissan Kick-Play 2025 a beaucoup de plus. Apple CarPlay intégré pour jouer vos tunes préférées, des fonctions avancées de sécurité, un rendement énergétique remarquable, puis même la petite odeur de char neuf qu'on aime tant. Tout ça en plus pour moins. Le Nissan Kick Play 2025 est le véhicule neuf le plus abordable au Québec. Achetez-le à partir de seulement 22 774 $, incluant un rabais à l'achat comptant de 2 600 $. Profitez de cette offre avantageuse chez votre concessionnaire dès maintenant. Jusqu'au 2 mars, des conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
Did you go to McGill University? Do you have a diploma on the wall of your office that you're very proud of with your degree from McGill University? Well, this next story is geared to you and to anyone else that views McGill as a big part of the city's history. Now, last week, the McGill Tribune student newspaper announced it would drop the word McGill from its name. That's actually taken effect. It is now the Tribune. And they also called on McGill University to consider doing the same, to drop McGill from the university's name. Now, this is a very contentious issue. In fact, I've reached out to some various alumni of the university, some alumni of McGill University that are actually, quite concerned about this, but not a lot of people want to talk on the record about the whole controversy here. Joining us now is one professor at McGill who is speaking out about moves like this. Patty joins me, professor of chemistry at McGill University. Pat, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Hello, Elias. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, Pat, let me tell you something. Most of the time, if I want to talk to someone connected to McGill University on this subject, they look both ways, and then they say, I can't talk on the record about this. Why do you think just saying your views on this issue has become so touchy?
I think saying your views on anything against the woke culture has become so touchy that almost everyone self-censors. And I say this as a person who I grew up a flaming liberal my whole life, and I'm sort of aghast at what's happened. And now I consider myself a libertarian just because I don't want anything to do with the woke left who've just silenced all sort of discussion. I think this is an example of it. It's a broader example of it, but it touches upon my workplace and alumni here and students here who want to say, I come to McGill, I came from McGill, it's a world famous institution, I'm proud to be here. Why am I not proud to be here? This is preposterous. And I know why they're doing this. This is not an outlying thing. I know why they're doing this. They're not just silly undergrads. They are silly undergrads, and they don't represent most people, but it's a broader phenomenon that's dangerous.
So Pat, let's get into that issue. You said the word woke there twice. And I know various people have different definitions of that. So I'd love to know your definition of that word, which has become, even that word is contentious here. How do you, especially in the university context, how do you describe woke?
Oh, I think being woke is very simple. Being woke is that you function based upon belief in ideas, and that is very different than the practice of principles and the discovery of principles, and this is all more humble and empirical. So a normal person says, I don't believe in democracy, I practice democracy, and I try to increase the freedoms of everyone and try to treat everyone fairly. That's a normal, experimental, empirical thing. The woke say, I believe that whites oppressed African Americans. I believe that that's intrinsic to America. I believe males oppress females by the patriarchy. In some cases they're true, in some cases they're not true, in some cases they're preposterous. So it's a very complicated situation, but the simple divergence is the woke function on beliefs. They're a secular religion. Like communism, it's a secular religion, and they don't tolerate any other thoughts. That's why they shut down dissent. And if you try to talk to them, they won't talk to you. I can talk to conservatives and right-wing people, no problem, easy. Can't talk to the woke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's difficult to have that conversation, right? It seems like there's no conversation to be had. They don't even want to talk about it.
And I can tell you that in this case, the example is no one wants to feel insensitive to the indigenous in the Americas, or it could be Australia or wherever it might be, because that's a global issue. It's not just America or Canada. And it's even an issue in India as well, with the caste system and things like that and other things like that. Everyone thinks about these points. Point is, no one has a monopoly of good ideas. These woke people think all of a sudden they have the monopoly of good ideas, and they're going to rename buildings. They're going to tear down statues. In America, they've been tearing down statues a lot, which is preposterous, when that statue is an immense part of the history of the place, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Obviously, you're not going to have Hitler and Stalin, but those are anomalous things. Most people meant well and did well for their times. That's why they have statues.
And of course, Pat, yeah, no, finish your thought, Pat.
Everyone was a slave owner at some point or other. That's how the Taj Mahal was built.
Mm-hmm. And Pat, of course, it's something I brought up with the managing editor of the Tribune last week, the whole notion of presentism, right? Like, and judging people from the 1820s or 40s based on our current day values. We're with Pat Kambhampati, professor of chemistry at McGill University. Pat, it's not lost on me that you're a professor of chemistry. You're in the sciences. And I would love to know if you feel like it's the science departments at McGill that are like the last stand compared to what we see maybe in the arts and the humanities at McGill University.
Well, the science departments are the last stand in that we don't do beliefs and we're empirical and practical. Scientists don't do beliefs, and engineers are empirical and practical, and that means both of them don't do these sort of things. Now, my father was an engineer, and he doesn't do these sort of things. I'm a scientist. I don't do these sort of things. So we're the last stand, but we're also public enemy number one, because science is the last great meritocracy other than sports.
Other than sports,
and no one will touch sports, but they will touch science. There are people going around saying that science is all a social construct. It's a white patriarchal construct. It oppresses minorities and women, and we need to restructure science. That's a huge thing. There's anti-colonial, like white physics, white chemistry. We have to tear it down. So these people have made science their enemy in a very big way. And I think that's all part and parcel of these students and what they represent, because they're being radicalized by professors.
Pat, you can go to the Tribune, no longer the McGill Tribune website, and you can see the articles that they're published, and you can see what side of the political spectrum they're on. But I get this sense for McGill University, right? You understand why a left-wing newspaper will change their name. You get that. But McGill University, the institution, are you worried that those arguments that were used to remove McGill from McGill Tribune will be successful at the university level, administration-wise and alumni and that? Are you worried that the people that want to remove the McGill name will win that battle?
I think that people will try to remove McGill's name and rename it like they do for many institutions. I don't think they'll be succeeding because it'll just be very difficult and they'll run out of money and effort. I think what they will do is tear down statues, and I think we have statues on campus they'll try to get rid of. Actually, I had a friend, a faculty member here, emailing me the statue that he thought was going to be torn down. And silly me, I just don't pay attention because I'm a scientist. I don't pay attention to statues. But there's a statue that I'm pretty sure is going to get torn down by somebody at some point.
Pat, Toronto, Ryerson University is now Toronto Metropolitan University. Are you sure or do you think, because some people would argue that luckily in Quebec, because of our francophone nature, we have a little bit more of a moat on wokeness. We
do.
Yeah.
I think we do, because the wokeness is not a French thing and it's not a Quebec thing. It's an American and Anglophone and British thing and Australian. It's more Australian than it is Quebec. Australia is very woke. Quebec, not as much. And I don't know French. But my kids do. And so they tell me it's not as much. It's more an English thing.
So you think what happened to Ryerson won't happen to McGill?
I think there'll be an effort, but I don't think it'll go anywhere.
Pat, listen, come back to the show. We'll talk about other issues as well that are happening on campus. Really enjoyed getting your take on the air this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
That's Pat Kambhampati, professor of chemistry at McGill University.